Hi, this is Gene. I just wanted to show you guys from scratch how to get to Michael Gregory's wonderful guitar channel. You simply go onto YouTube like this. I use Google. I'm going to go to my homepage and put in Michael Gregory's name. There it is, which brings up a picture of him right here. You go like this. And I want to show you that he's got almost 2,000 subscribers. I'm already subscribed to the channel. And if you look here on the videos, you'll see many, many excellent songs. Just everything from, Steely Dan to everybody. Really, all the good stuff is on here. And once you subscribe, you'll be able to come back to it and learn away. So we're going to take it over to the regular interview. This is part 3. Yes, it's very long, but Michael is very good and it's worthwhile. So Gene, I'll see you on the interview. I go on your channel quite a bit, actually. And you taught me how to play third-rate romance. And I'm learning sleepwalk from you. And I know you've got everything on there. What are your plans for your YouTube channel? You've got almost 2,000 subscribers. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you. Well, let me tell you how it happened. I never had really any ambition for it. When I got off the road, and I'm going to college for 4 years to get my healthcare IT degree, my outlet for playing was I just play at home. And I started getting nostalgic for all the music that inspired me as a kid. And so I'd put on those videos of it on YouTube and play along. And I said, hey, I'll put on some videos, because people say, man, we never get to see you play anymore, especially people back here in Sac. Excuse me. So I would make play along videos of me playing these songs. And it's like, all these things that were just favorite songs, great guitar parts, things that really taught me how to play. And I started doing play-along videos of those. Then people would start requesting, hey, what about this song? What about that song? And then I started getting into, I did one Steely Dan song. I think the first one was either Do It Again or My Old School.
Both of them are incredible solos.
Just incredible. Jeff Baxter, he could have died with that and
had a legacy.
Had it. But I went, wait a minute, Steely Dan, how many great guitar players? So I had to do a Larry Carlton one, I had to do a Steve Conn one, a Rick Derringer one, a Walter Becker one, because he played guitar on some. So it just kind of grew out and became this thing, like all my influences, and I've had great response from all over the world, very kind things, the ones that mean the most to me are people say, I watched like 12 videos of this song. You're the only guy that had it completely right.
Yeah, every lick. And you don't rush, you don't drag, you're so calm. I don't know how it's really...
I'm the human quaalude.
I got nerves of steel. Wow. So
that was how it started. So I get, questions, people a lot going, hey, have you thought about monetizing, your channel? I said, maybe, so at some point, right now I'm working a full-time job in healthcare. And I'm juggling several local bands. I have a studio at home, so people send me tracks, and I do session work remotely for people. So I said, right now, I don't really have the time to do that. To monetize a channel, it would almost have to be a full-time job, maybe when I retire from my day job.
Great. Can we give a few shouts out to some of the local bands that you're playing with right now and name their names and tell us a little bit about your itinerary where you might be playing?
Okay. I always put my gigs, because I play with so many different people, I put my gigs on my Facebook. And there are many Michael Gregorys. It's michaelgregory.925. So apparently there were 924 others on there before I got to
Oh,
Facebook.
I get it.
So
925.
I think it's michaelgregory.925. That's how you get to mine. And so, because I love all kinds of music, and one of the fortunate things about having a good ear from the get-go was it was easy to learn songs for me. That was a fairly simple process. So I'm kind of a human jukebox. So like one of the bands I've been working with lately as a sub is C.C. Seeger.
Right, with my good friend John Dengate.
Yes.
Who brags about you. Well,
John,
everybody brags about you.
John,
John
oh, man.
is the sweetest guy in the
John
world.
is a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
All those guys are so great. The drummer Steve Brown is out with Tesla right now,
Yes.
actually,
Yes.
filling in for Troy. But so that band, their main guitar player Harvey, who is a wonderful player and
guy.
human being,
Beautiful guy.
and he can't always, because of his day gig, he can't always
Right.
do the gig. So, but like when Paul Holgate sent me the set list, this like 2-page set list, I went, oh, I only have to learn like 2 songs, because it's just all this stuff. If it was on the radio, it just gets into your DNA. You know, if someone has a set list that is classic pop, rock, Americana, country covers, I'm going to know probably 85-90% of your set list. There'll be some surprises.
So were you doing some with Roger Smith recently?
Yes. Excuse me. Yeah, he called me in the 90s when I had my band and we lost our keyboard player. We're in the middle of making a CD, and somehow he found out. And at that point, I wouldn't have had the nerve to call the Roger Smith and go, hey, you want to play on my little CD? You know, because he played with Jeff Beck, Gladys Knight, Freddie King. I mean, this guy's deep. Mm-hmm. And he called me, hey, Mike, it's Roger Smith. Yeah. Heard you're looking for a keyboard player. I'd just like to offer my services. Are you kidding me? Wow. So that was how the relationship started. So he joined my band, played on my CD, and he would do gigs, local cover gigs. And so I started playing with him. And that's when I started getting that tutelage about playing R&B that was so helpful to me. And then he joined Tower. And shortly after that, I went to Nashville. But then, you know, when I came back, he said, hey, I'm doing my own thing when Tower's off the road. And so we started that up. And, you know, he is a partner in the Bump City Wine Company in Clarksburg. So he plays a lot of events at the winery when he's off the road.
Yeah, that's great.
And what a band. That's a great band. We got Tommy Politzer from Tower on sax. Curtis Olson on bass, who played with Buddy Rich and Ray Charles back in the day. And then we have a 23-year-old drumming savant named Kyron Kirby. And he's amazing, plays way beyond his years. So, yeah, Roger is just wonderful. I can't get enough of that gig.
Speaking of savant, I want to get this in this interview. So Michael used to come into the Vox room, and he'd be sitting up on an amplifier, just all relaxed, playing and playing. And Larry and I would be around the corner listening and going, did you hear that? You know, and that's what we thought. We thought, this guy's a savant.
Oh,
but
man.
I mean, highly, you know, skilled, talented. It's beautiful to probably have your genes and that, and it is very noticeable. Who are your favorite guitar players? Let's go world-wise. Give me like 3 or 4, and then locally. You know,
Okay.
people that
I'll
came
tell
out
you
of
the biggest
Sacramento.
influences on me that shaped me as a musician.
All right.
Hendrix, my ground zero. Then after that, the next really big influence that kind of opens your lens wider, Steve Howe, yes. I didn't know it at the time. I was like, he's so different. Well, he was bringing in Django and Wes Montgomery and Chet Atkins, things that a rock player wouldn't have in their bag. And so he sounded so different. So then Steve Howe. Then probably the biggest single influence would be Steve Morse, Dixie Dregs, Deep Purple, Kansas, because he was just a total package. He is a stylist as a guitar player. It doesn't sound like anyone else. You hear two notes, you know it's him. He just has such a thumbprint. Then he's a gifted composer. He wrote all their music, and it's in so many genres packed into a single song. You know, he went to University of Miami, got a degree in music. So he's a legitimate classical composer too. And then, you know, just such an original. So all those things, he was kind of the triple threat, and really he made the biggest impression on me. And then after that, probably Eric Johnson. For the same reason, just so unique, doesn't sound like anybody. And Roger Smith, back in his Austin days in the 70s, had a band. They were all like in their early 20s, and their guitar player was a 16-year-old Eric Johnson. Wow. They used to have to get his father, Dr. Johnson, very conservative physician. Roger, where are you taking my boy tonight? We have this gig over here at the Rotary Club, Mr. Johnson. It's a school night. When are you going to have him home? We'll be home by 10. Okay.
Isn't that great? Hey, before we go to the local guitar players,
Yeah.
I would like to ask you, how are you with music theory, and how did you tie it in? If, you know, for what you know, because I know when you're playing with Roger Smith, I mean, and the caliber of the people that you play with.
That's 4D chess there.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
he's doing.
So tell me about your
That's a great question, because out of all the instruments, you know, piano players, they grow up taking lessons. Horn players learn in school. They read and all that from a very early stage. But guitar was one of those instruments in our culture, especially in the 60s, and that was kind of the freewheeling thing. You could take it anywhere. You could learn 3 chords and play and have fun. And so schooled guitar players were very rare, right? Because we just picked it up. And because I was fortunate to have a really good ear, I started unconsciously developing this kind of cataloging system, I would call it. So, like if I heard a lick, you know, ba ba da da, I go, okay, that's 1 fret, 3 frets, 1 fret, 2 frets. I would start calculating the intervals and match what I heard with the fingerboard. Okay, and so then in high school, I wanted to play in the stage band, so I had to learn to read music. So the teacher said, okay, here's a book, take this home. It was Teach Yourself to Read Music. So I took the book home and read it for a couple of days. And so, okay, I know how to read music. I wasn't good at it, but I understood the concept now. You know, pitch goes up and down, the time goes left to right. Okay, I can do that. But reading for guitar is so hard, you know, because you have so much ground to cover.
Oh yeah, you got to go, and you've got all the options of places to go.
Oh yeah.
But here's another question. So do you, you know, how do you figure out, and you know, like 11ths and, you know, 9ths?
Yeah,
and
see,
all of
that came later. So what happened was when I started learning theory, they said, well, this is a minor third.
So when you
this is a
started
major
learning
third.
the theory, who and how did you start learning?
It was first in high school band, because the teacher would start using some of that terminology, and I was curious, you know, just always insatiably curious, so I would be reading. And when the theory stuff started coming up, I went, oh, okay, I know what that was. I just didn't know that's what you called it.
You know Johnny Patton, he's a keyboard player
Yes.
that I play with. And he somehow, when he was very, very young, I think his mom was a piano teacher, his dad was a guitar player, the whole family was in on it. He studied under a lady who was from Europe, from England, and so he learned music theory from a different perspective. He's just very, very wonderful and very good to play with. So I'm struggling along. But, you know, any tips and any ways of making that be easier, I think, for any guitar player out there. You know, guitar players are sort of like the bastard kids on the block because they're
We're the
garage
redheaded
band.
stepchild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get it
We're
in a
not legit.
garage,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're playing with some really good keyboard players or some horn players, and they know what they're doing.
And you just kind of have to pick it up.
So how do you give a couple of tips of what you think?
Well, again, on that same concept, that theory became a labeling system for what my ear was already teaching me.
Mm-hmm.
So it became, okay, that's a minor third. That's a minor seventh chord. This is a 2-5-1 progression.
Yes.
So it's just good to be basically conversant in it. And I think that now, because of the internet, there is such a massive proliferation and availability of information. You can get the equivalent of a major in music like in a year if you just spent a year doing nothing but go on the internet. It's just on Rick Beato's channel.
Oh, Rick Beato. Oh, I love
you get a
him.
PhD right
or
there.
Or go on the road with Roger Smith for 6 weeks, right?
So, theory, to me, it's just kind of what I tell my guitar students. Let's see, theory is to music what grammar is to language.
Nice.
It's the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, okay, you learn to speak from copying your parents. Then after a couple of years, they send you to school, teach you how to write, how to read. They teach you how to parse a sentence and all the grammar and all that. Well, you were already speaking, but they teach you what's going on under the hood, the structure of it. And so I said the same with guitar players. We put on records, we copy our musical parents, just like we learn to talk.
Yeah.
I said, then we start to learn some theory, and that's like going to elementary school after you've been talking for a few years, and you start to get grammar.
And then you go back to the greats, and they're following the rules. Right? So, okay, that's very, very cool. So give me a few of your favorite local guitar players that came out of Sacramento, if you don't mind.
Sacramento.
And we don't mean to leave anybody out.
No, it's because it's between two major markets, San Francisco and LA. Sacramento kind of gets overlooked. But a wealth of talent, guitar-wise, has come from this town. And so, the big names have been Craig Giachiso, Starship.
Went to high school with Sherry.
Okay. Was that Encina?
La Sierra?
La Sierra, that's right. Jeff Watson.
Yes.
And he was very helpful to me. Too, when I was in high school, my local guitar store was Sunrise Music at the corner of Sunrise and Greenback, and he worked the counter.
Absolutely.
And so he was very helpful, and we're still friends to this day. We talk online quite a bit, and he's a great guy.
You're very good at staying in touch with people.
Yeah, and very encouraging, very helpful, and like he told me, I don't know, about 6 months ago, he said, I'm in this email chat group with like Steve Lukather and Steve Morse and all these big time players. And he said, I played him some of your YouTube videos. I said, you did? Yeah, I was totally unsolicited. I would never ask anybody to do that. And he said, yeah. And he said, those guys all dig what you do. I said, man, you can't ask for anything more than that. Thank you for doing that. That's really
very, very kind.
good.
Very good too.
Craig and Jeff, kind of big name. Frank Hannon from Tesla.
Frank Hannon, oh my gosh.
I'm playing 1970 something, 8, 9, with this rock band that I was in that did Christian music. We're playing at Signal Heights Baptist Church, Fruit Ridge and 65th. We get done playing. There was a kid out riding a go-kart in the parking lot. And he comes in and he goes, hey, I'm learning how to play guitar. Show me something. And thankfully I was just in a good mood that day. I could have been, well, I got to go, kid. So I showed him some stuff. Then years later, I'm in K&K Music. My friend said, hey, that's the guy from Tesla. You want to meet him? I go, yeah, I heard about them. I'm really excited. Someone from Sacramento is making big waves, And he said, Mike, this is Frank. Frank, this is Mike. And Frank goes, you're that guy. And I said, what guy? You're in that band. I said, I'm in a lot of bands. And he goes, remember the Baptist church, the go-kart, the parking lot? I go, I kind of remember that gig. And he pulls his long hair back, and his ears are sticking straight out. And I said, yeah, I remember you.
Isn't that
And he said, hey, here's my number. And when I put my band together, he recorded our demo for free.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
And, talked us up to people. He's been such
When he
a
was
helpful person.
very young, maybe 13 or 14, his mom brought him into Skips.
June,
Well,
yeah.
I'd see him in there all the time.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal even then. It was
He
just-
had the gift, yeah.
He definitely
From the
is one
get-go.
of the finest guitar players I've ever seen. Who else?
Okay, people that are here locally, a guy that I only took one lesson from. I signed up for an hour lesson back in the 80s. Went to his apartment and we did the lesson and we ended up talking guitar for 6 or 7 hours. Steve Holman.
Oh, yeah.
Just what a wonderful, wonderful, deep guitar player, wonderful human being. Henry Robinette,
Oh, Henry Robinette.
great
Now,
local
he's
player.
related to somebody.
He was Charlie Mingus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those two are great. In the jazz thing, obviously those guys. Steve Wall, Beer Dogs,
Oh, yeah, I love Steve Wall.
just maniac, on fire player, man.
yeah.
He's just so
Beautiful
good.
guy.
It's such a great guy.
Beautiful, nice guy.
Yeah, sweet guy. Plays his butt off. In the young player category, the up and comers, I don't know if you've heard Austin Moe.
I haven't heard of him.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I've heard his name.
Frank
But-
Hannon has been helping him out.
Oh, is that right? Very
And
nice.
so when I moved back in 2018, we went out to dinner for my brother's birthday. We're at the place out in this big courtyard. Band starts setting up. Oh, the band's playing. Out comes this kid, really long hair. You can tell he's younger than anyone else in the band.
Mhm.
He looked like 20, 21 tops. And he starts singing and playing at the talk box and doing like our stuff, like Derringer and Hendrix and stuff from that era, and really playing it from the inside, very authentic and gifted player. And I've gotten to know him a little bit and had him sit in on a gig or two. And he's just a sweet guy, and I hope he does very well. Austin Moe. M-O.
Austin Moe. Okay. People, remember this stuff. Okay, I want to wind up with asking you a question. You've ever heard of a author named Malcolm Gladwell?
Yes.
And he's a wonderful author. And he wrote one of my favorite books is Tipping Point. And in Tipping Point, he talks about the 10,000-hour rule, and so does Robert Greene in The Art of Mastery.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts? When you were young and you were starting, did you spend lots of time? And how many hours do you think you've played altogether?
Oh, it would be amazing to calculate it because I started when I was 9, had nothing but time. So I was playing constantly. I mean, literally constantly. Then, like in late junior high, early high school, I was so into it and I was so socially awkward. I was not, real outgoing person. I was very shy. So I would cut a lot of classes, hang out in the band rooms in the hallway, and just practice. In high school, I played saxophone, trombone, and trumpet, and tuba. I taught myself.
So, but your first instrument was guitar?
Always a guitar. And I played a little bit of keyboards.
Okay. Yeah. Isn't
I
that
loved
interesting?
fooling around with the piano, learning Beatles and Todd Rundgren, stuff like that. Guitar players who dabbled in piano. I could never do anything that like a legitimate piano player could do. But again, it was, as you know, it goes into the same pot, regardless of what instrument it is.
Well, in fact, it seems to me that the more different instruments you play, the more you understand how they all should possibly fit together. Is that?
Absolutely. And so hours, that's just all I did. I was just obsessed with it. In fact, when my mom had to punish me for something I did wrong, her punishment was to lock my guitar in her bedroom. She knew that was the one thing that would get to me. And so I'd go to Skip's over on 24th and Florin and play the guitars there on my way home from school.
Yeah, sneak
try and
over
get a
to Skip's.
fix, yeah.
I get it. Yeah, boy, good old Skip. And anyway, this won't be the last time we get together. I'll tell you, it's just been really a lot of fun. anytime you ever have anything you want to promote or anything like that, I want to try to, help. if I
Thank you.
can.
That's very gracious.
People, you should go and check out his site, his YouTube channel, or his Facebook, and go hear Michael Gregory play. If you've never heard Michael Gregory play, do it.
And
Go ahead.
thank you. And just quickly to wrap back around to the question about local bands that I play with. Currently, I'm playing with Roger Smith, playing sometimes with C.C. Seeger. I play with a band called the Sky Kings, a 9-piece band that's kind of like an Americana, some like Birds, Eagles, some of that route. But then we also do Steely Dan and more modern things. 9 people. So there's bass, drums, guitar, 2 keyboards, female vocalist, an acoustic guitar player, a sax player, and an electronic wind instrument player. So they cover a lot of ground. That band's a lot of fun. Then I do several. I do a band called Control Alt Delete. This is a classic rock band with my buddy John Dufour that I've been playing with since high school. And then I do a duet with John Dufour. I do a duet with Quinn Hedges, Rockland guy. He's very talented. And I also play with a duo called the DTs. And I'm an honorary DT. I'll join them as a third piece from time to time. So
Very nice. The piece that you sent over, the video from, I think it's Powerhouse Pub. We'll
that.
put that up.
Okay.
And so this is Gene Thorpe, Little Red Rooster TV. Michael Gregory, thank you.
What a
I've got
pleasure.
a Vox
Thank
Room
you.
T-shirt for you and
What?
a Little
Oh.
Red Rooster TV T-shirt.
What?
for you.
Yes. Oh, I'm all about
Thank
that.
you for being a part of this.
Thank you. I'm honored.
We'll see you again. Bye-bye.